Hey Anna, in this session we want to finish exercise 1. As I mentioned in previous sessions, by clicking on the camera icon at the bottom right, we open the photo studio. In previous sessions, you learned how to make materials with this project and how to place objects in the scene. Adjust your focal length. Please practice with me step by step. Let's add a few cameras. Let's start by building out 3 different custom styles or effects. Real skies. This will set the mood of the entire image with beautiful natural light. There are about 60 real skies with pre-configured skylight settings. A rainy morning, a sunny afternoon, and a starry night. We can completely change the emotion and feeling of the scene by simply adding a different real sky. I will add the precipitation effect to our overcast morning. We add another advanced effect. Add the color correction effect. I usually warm the image up a notch to balance out the blue light from the sky. Click on the preview area to get a quick render of the results. You can even use these effects in the movie in 360 panorama studios. If you use post-production software such as Photoshop, you should be familiar with these settings. Just experiment with them to find a style that fits your render. Sun effect. This effect is quite simple. It is a way to adjust some lighting for your render. It includes the sunrise, sun heading, or rotation brightness, and disk size, which determines the size of the sun itself. Add the next effect, which is shadow. This effect is used to adjust all aspects of shadows in your scene. Let's begin with the sun shadow range. As you can see here, a smaller sun shadow range gives me more detailed shadows, and because this is a small scene, I'll keep the slider all the way to the left. Next is the coloring. The lights in the shadows come from the sky, which has a bluish tint. So the higher the coloring value, the bluer the shadow will look. Next is the brightness slider, which would determine how dark or light your shadow are. In this case, I want some light shadows, so I would set it around here. Omni shadows is a great way to enhance small details in the geometry and materials. I usually set this to max. This is similar to adding ambient occlusion to your render shadow error correction that allows you to reduce shadow errors caused by two pieces of the model being very close together. This is not very noticeable, and it also depends on the scene. The next is shadow type, which include normal, sharp, and ultra sharp. I will use a different example for this. Here is a comparison between normal sharp and ultra sharp shadows. Finally, the last two options are soft shadows and fine detail shadows. Fine detail shadows let you add more details to your shadows. You can see that this option is able to add so much details, which makes it more realistic. You can also turn on soft shadows, but note that this is only available for shadow type normal. Here you can see that the soft shadows blurs out your shadows a bit more. Let's move on to the next effect, which is a reflection. Note that you can also change the preview quality here. As you can see, with the reflection effect, our reflections in the windows look more realistic. Click here and add reflection planes to simulate accurate mirror-like reflection, no matter where the camera viewpoint is. Next, I'm going to add a skylight effect. As you can see, this effect is not visible on the preview, so you need to render it. To see the effects of brightness, adding 0 would give a warmer render, while maximum brightness will produce a cooler tone. I would use this example to show you what it looks like with this option off versus when they are turned on for this render. Turn on these two options here. Now let's add a hyperlight effect. This effect will help brighten up the interior. Usually I use the real sky, but you can use the clouds effect to add some clouds to the background of your render for this. It depends on your scene, so just experiment with the settings and see what works best for you. That looks pretty good. Let's add another effect. This is great for stylizing your render. There are lots of presets that you could use. This effect can change your render quite drastically, so just reduce the amount if you like. Finally, I would add a bloom effect. Before I show you another effect, I'm going to create another view. When creating a new view, instead of adding styles from scratch, I can go back to the previous view and click here, then copy effects and go to a new view. Click the menu edit and paste the effects here. Now I can add more effects such as the depth of field effect. For this, I can manually adjust the focus distance here. Or I can click on this pencil and pick up the points where I want the camera to focus on. If you want to save your custom style for later, you can click here and save the effects to your laptop, then later you can easily load it in. Global illumination bounces light off surfaces back onto the environment. For example, a red carpet would reflect red light onto the ceiling when it is hit by sunlight. Configure the global illumination effect so sunlight bounces off materials. The chromatic aberration that is emulated in Lumion closely resembles what is known as transference chromatic aberration or TCA. This is often caused along high contrast edges, whereby a dark area overlaps a bright area. The lens flare effect simulates the effect in the real-world cameras caused by bright spots in the image. Before adding the rest of the effects needed, I should explain that the result of some effects can only be seen in the final renderings, such as the poster print enhancer, while the result of the rest can only be seen when the quality of the editor is set to high or super high quality, such as shadows or lens flare. Sometimes the camera angle is not perpendicular to the object, and as a result, our perspective in the photo is wrong. We use this effect to fix this problem. Let's see the focus settings together. The sharpen option is used to increase the details of objects. The exposure effect is a single slider with a high impact. Exposure is adjusted at this stage as a preparation for further tweaking of the lighting. The reduced exposure has the effect of decreasing the brightness while emphasizing colors. The new hyperlight feature is only applied when you render your videos. However, when this setting is applied to your render, it creates a more realistic style of lighting. This setting will make your entire scene's lighting look more natural, which will make your scene feel more immersive.